Hey, I have a question from one of these guys for you.
Okay.
What is your everyday carry kit, and how do you put that into a training kit that you wear?
That I can answer. Okay guys, for me today on my everyday carry, one of the things, and it depends on the time of year and the work I'm doing, but currently I'm carrying a Glock 17 MOS with a Holosun optic on it. And second to that, and this is my arrangement for how I interact my everyday carry with what I do in the arts. So the next one is going to be the equalizer fixed blade. I'm a big proponent of fixed blades over folders, just due to generally you can get them at the proper length to reach off buttons. And you can get them out pretty quick, especially when you're training under pressure. So like I said, this one is the equalizer, the RW54 from Tuhan Tim Wade. Tuhan Tim Wade teaches Pakiti Tersha Kali, and he's one of my teachers. And I like the design of it because it was put together by a knife fighter. All right, the next thing I usually will carry for a blunt instrument. So for me, and this is based on how I teach, there's different areas that I try to focus on. One of them is firearms training. The other one, the section is going to be blunt weaponry or edged weaponry. So we just talked about the equalizer, and that kind of fills the category for edged weaponry for me. But this is probably a very common one I carry for blunt instruments. It's the Streamlight ProTac 2LX. The only little drawback to this thing is the clip on top. Sometimes we'll buy these things and they're cool, put them in your pocket, but if you don't actually train with them and use them, you don't find out how these types of things can affect your hand under pressure when you're using it and trying to smash something or somebody. Generally, if you got a little bit of a lip there, that can go into your hand. So that's the only thing I don't like about this light. Other than that, is a good solid light and readily available as a blunt instrument. So the second thing I carry, and it would fit into the same category as a blunt weapon or a blunt tool, is a magazine in the pocket. And one of the things that hold it is a NeoMag. It's a magnetic clip, if you haven't seen one of those. And it allows you to clip that right inside your pocket. The nice thing about it is it's out of the way, but it's very accessible, just like the light. If I want to get to it, all I have to do is put my fingers under it and push up, and it gives it immediate access. Same thing with the magazine. And it depends on the level of force that you are dealing with. To me, it's a multi-tool. Obviously, it's a backup magazine for the firearm, but I may not be in an elevated lethal force situation, and I may need to use it as a blunt instrument. And one last thing, today I've got on I got on tactical pants, but sometimes you're wearing jeans. And for me, one of my favorite blunt instruments that I'll wear with jeans, due to the extra pocket you'll generally have on them, is it's a massage tool. Right? You can massage backs, you can massage skulls with this thing. This is a KFM Knuckle Duster. It's just made of wood, and there's different versions of this out there, but it's a nice blunt instrument, and again, easily accessible under pressure. And that's one of the reasons I choose a lot of these things, and the placement of them is just due to my training over the years. You have to pick something that you can get out pretty quick when you're under pressure from the guys, when you're training and testing out these different items for use in a self-defense situation. Okay, so we took a look at my current everyday carry. Like I said, it will change throughout the year depending on what I'm doing, the type of work I'm doing, or sometimes what you're wearing. So anytime you put together your everyday training kit, you want to train with it, or you should train with it. So you need to be able to convert it over into a training kit that you can then implement into your different defensive tactics, martial arts training. So for me, one of the common tools I will use is the cold steel straight blade trainer. It's proper length, and I use this a lot when I'm knife fighting and knife sparring. So it transfers over comparatively to the blade I normally carry very well. The next thing would be the Blackhawk training pistol. You could probably find this with an easy Google search. I don't like the softer guns. I like them to be a little more substantial because you're going to have this gear on when I am striking, when I am standing pummeling, when I am on the ground grappling with the guys in the various forms of grappling. So there's going to be hands on this. We're going to be fighting over it. So just like a real gun, it doesn't have a lot of give to it. Sometimes the rubber ones will bend a little bit, so I like having more of a solid plastic one just for those training options. And that's one of the reasons you want the kit, like I said, is if you're not training with it, you don't fully understand your kit and how to implement it. Same thing with the lights. I've got different training magazines that I will use with the NeoMag and different training tactical lights that I will use. So for me, I'll wear this and sometimes jeans, but the same clothing that you're going to have on every day, and I'll go into the gym, into the academy. Sometimes you'll come in and you've got a gi on, you're no gi, but you should also train in what you have on every day. You should be familiar with the clothing that you commonly wear. All right, just a little bit on choosing placement of your everyday carry and why I chose this particular orientation. So probably about 17 years ago, I started to introduce this equipment into all of my other training. My stand-up striking, my standing grappling, my pummeling. I introduced it into the grappling environment in the different grappling systems that I train. And when I first started wearing, like for instance, the firearm, due to the work I've done in protection, we always wore it on the side. But when I started in implementing it into these resistance environments with my guys, they got to it a lot easier. It's much harder for me to protect it in those close quarter arrangements. So it started to migrate toward the front to where it is today. I'm not a big fan of appendix, but like I said, throughout all the years of training, I'm able to protect it more here when I'm on my feet. If I'm pinned against a wall or in a corner, if I'm between two vehicles and I'm having an interaction with one or two people, if I'm on the ground grappling especially, it's way easier for me to protect this in this location and keep it from my opponent. It is also easier for me to bring it into play. Same thing with the straight blade. When I first started, I wore it on the side, and it made my arm more readily available for the guys when we're training. So same thing when I started to bring it more in front, I could protect it more, I could access it quicker, and in all the different environments that I just mentioned. Once you have your training kit together, and let's say it's very common, I work with a lot of guys and they'll go and they'll do their firearm training. And they're also going to the academy and they're doing their martial arts training. It's very important to start to implement these together. And one of the reasons is because having a kit on as you're training your defensive tactics, as you're training your various forms of martial arts, will change the way you do those. And this was a big change for me. When I put them on, and I was just adding weapon systems to my Thai boxing. I was just adding weapon systems to jiu-jitsu, to combat submission wrestling. And I found I had to change a lot of the fundamentals of those systems in order to be safer with these things on in those environments, in order to protect them from the threat, and in order to be in a position to access them. Sometimes in different martial arts, different positions are acceptable because we don't think about this. But once you put this on, you'll find out that what is acceptable in those different positions in art has to change. And those are the little adjustments that you want to implement in your defensive tactics or your martial arts if you are training both methodologies, the firearms and the combat systems. Okay guys, if you like the content that you are seeing on the channel, please give us a like and subscribe and share us with your friends. It helps the channel grow. Also, if you have questions, a lot of the videos we're making is based on the questions that you give us. Please send them. Let us know what you'd like to see.